It is late. The road is empty. The sky is black. And then it appears. Two red lights, glowing, unblinking, hovering above the ground, watching from the trees. And before you can react, the thing separates its wings, massive in size, silent, and it quickly thrusts itself into the air without making a sound. What you just heard was not the imagination of someone who thought they saw something moving in the night. This, and many other accounts that are similar to this, would quickly gain traction and be known as the Mothman. For 13 straight months, the people of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, lived in fear of something they couldn't understand. Dozens claimed to see it. Some chased it, others ran from it. Some were never the same after. And then, a bridge collapsed. Dozens had died, and just like that, the creature was gone. So was this coincidence, mass hysteria, or something more? To get a better look at the whole picture, we need to go back to the very beginning. The story begins in November 1966, on a cold, fog-heavy night near an abandoned munitions plant known as the TNT area, an eerie name given for a very eerie location. Overgrown concrete bunkers, once used to store explosives during World War II, now sat empty in the woods, echoing with age and rot. On November 15th, two young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mellett, were driving through the TNT area when they saw something they would never forget. They described a tall gray creature standing over 6 feet high with glowing red eyes and wings at least 10 to 12 feet wide. When their headlights hit it, it turned and lifted straight into the air and started to follow the car, keeping pace with them at over 100 miles per hour without ever flapping its wings. And that was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, more than 100 people would report seeing the same creature. Firefighters, policemen, business owners, children, entire families to say they have seen this horrifying creature. And every single account, no matter who it was, all said the same thing. It had large wings and red eyes, and it was watching us. As word spread, Point Pleasant transformed. Reporters started to flood in. Some even said that men in black suits started to show up. Witnesses claimed they were visited by strangers asking for odd questions. Some had even went on record to say they were told not to talk about what they had seen. Similar to the other Men in Black stories that have involved UFOs and the such, they describe them the same exact way. These Men in Black apparently had no eyebrows, no eyelashes, and some people said they didn't even blink. As odd as that sounds, that is actually a semi-common description when it comes to these Men in Black authority figures that often show up during UFO cases. And to make the situation even more strange, UFO sightings skyrocketed in the area. People began seeing strange lights over the Ohio River. Some claimed that poltergeist activity surged. There were a few instances where people had said that their electronic devices turned on by themselves. Family pets went missing. The town went into complete disarray. And then, just over a year after the first sighting, something terrible happened. On December 15th, 1967, at 5:04 p.m., the Silver Bridge, a massive structure connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio, suddenly and violently collapsed. Cars plunged into the freezing river below. 46 people had died that day. And it was the worst bridge disaster in American history, well, at least at the time. At the moment it happened, all of the strange sightings, all of the strange paranormal activity, the UFO sightings, everything stopped. No more Mothman, no more UFOs, no more red eyes. Gone. The creature vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. Many locals believe the two events were connected, almost as if the Mothman was some kind of warning, a shadow that arrives just before tragedy strikes. So what was it? Over the years, dozens of theories have been proposed, ranging from the logical to the paranormal to something out of a sci-fi novel. So let's break them down. The most common, and probably the most hilarious, is a bird. Yep, just a big misidentified bird. Some skeptics believe the Mothman was actually a sandhill crane, a tall bird with red markings around its eyes and a large wingspan. The problem with that theory is sandhill cranes aren't native to that area, and they don't fly 100 miles per hour, nor do they have glowing eyes. They don't chase after cars, and they certainly don't hover silently over trees and buildings. I don't think it was a bird they saw. So that brings us to our second theory, mass hysteria. Another popular theory is that the whole thing was a case of mass suggestion. One wild sighting got the media's attention, and the rest of the town fell into a kind of shared delusion. Now, hysteria doesn't chase police cruisers, nor does it cause animals to run into the woods and disappear. There are a couple cases where mass hysteria can lead to some false accusations. The mind can begin to play tricks on you if your brain is actively looking for something. Many original witnesses refused to speak about it again. Some people even moved away after this whole incident, saying they were, quote, never the same, end quote, after what they saw. Part of that doesn't sound like hysteria. The third theory that gets floated around a lot is government experiments gone wrong. Now we're kind of getting into the deeper waters. The TNT area was once a high-security military site during the Cold War. The US government was experimenting with all kinds of classified tech. Radar systems, aircraft, chemical tests, and yes, even biological experiments. Could the Mothman have been a mutated creature? An escaped prototype? Something that wasn't supposed to exist outside of a lab? Some witnesses have said that it looked part man, part machine, while others claimed that it was more humanoid than insect. Others have said that its wings weren't even connected to its body, they just extended from its back. While this sounds more like a campfire story than reality, I would love to know what you think. The fourth theory, and even more farther out there in my opinion, is the interdimensional visitor theory. This one is harder to dismiss than you'd expect. In the decades since, some paranormal researchers have proposed that Mothman wasn't a creature of flesh and blood, but more or less an interdimensional being, a crack in the wall of reality, a creature that exists just outside of time and space as we know it. These beings, the theory goes, appear before disasters as more or less cosmic alarms, trying to warn us, or observe us, or feed off the fear and trauma that follows. It's wild, it's weird, but it does explain the red eyes, the silence, the disappearances, the impossible speed, the UFOs, the men in black, and the sense that everything that happened in Point Pleasant was connected. And what's even more strange is, other sightings with Mothman, not just in Point Pleasant, have pointed to the same absolute bizarre scenarios of the supernatural happening. And just like Point Pleasant, usually something always bad happens. Which brings me to what I think it is. I think the Mothman isn't a monster or a bird. I don't even know if it's a cryptid. To me, it's more like an omen, an angel of death, a spiritual siren. I don't think the Mothman necessarily causes the disaster, nor does it even like the disaster, but it comes to warn us about it. And while that does sound far-fetched, as I stated earlier, there have been way more sightings than just this. Being spotted in Chernobyl right before the meltdown, people described the same red-eyed winged creature seen days before the tragedy struck. He had also been reported to be seen right before 9/11 occurred, and the I-35 bridge collapse in Minneapolis in 2007. So let me ask you, does that sound like a coincidence or more of a pattern? Sometimes it's easy to dismiss stories like this as folklore, but folklore usually starts somewhere, and the story of the Mothman didn't begin in the fog of history. It began in 1966 with the real names, real people, real faces, and real stories and evidence to back up what they saw. I do believe there was something in Point Pleasant, and whether it was a cryptid, a government cover-up, or a harbinger of doom, it left a mark on that town. So much that today, there is a statue of the Mothman in the town square, a museum, a yearly festival, and even skeptics have come around to semi-believing in what some people think is just a hoax. And for the town, the Mothman may be gone, but the mystery, that's still alive and well. So what is the Mothman? I would love to know your opinions below. Is it a creature, a curse, or something not necessarily meant to be seen? Leave your theory in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. I greatly appreciate all of you, and I'm happy to be back making videos. And until we meet again, as always, good night.